Good morning, traders. Happy hump day today here. Yeah, it's another beautiful day in trading. Real quickly, just going over the recap of yesterday, and then I'll let the stream go ahead and go on its own here because I got to step away from the keyboard for a second. But anyway, made one trade yesterday, one trade, one winner. Um, it was the only opportunity spotted, only opportunity I saw, so I stuck with that one trade. The trade was on CORV, as you can see here. I kept the log open. I didn't reset the sure trader yet. I keep it open just so I can keep this available because once you restart it, especially the next morning, um, this stuff disappears and it's like a clean slate for the next day. So I kept it open for you guys. But anyway, one trade. I took the trade on CORV. Yesterday overall was fairly slow, and then anything that really was moving was choppy. So you couldn't find any consistency in any of the trades. You couldn't find any um, solid direction in many of the trades yesterday uh, to be able to make a true um, prediction of the direction of the trade. So, however, anyway, let's get back to it. CORV, I traded. I seen it this morning, yesterday morning. Sorry. Um, it's a little weak. I was mainly when I was looking at this trade. If you really look at it now, you'll see just how choppy it was. And this is basically how the whole overall market was yesterday. And this is a good reflection of it. You see the up, down, up, down, up, down, but not breaking out of any real channels here, breaking out of any zones or levels. But anyway, I was basically looking at the daily. That's what made me make that trade. Not so much the 1 minute or 5 minute. As you can see, there was multiple levels of resistance at the moving averages. And as you know, many traders utilize and react off of these levels. So it is a good idea for you guys to have those levels on your chart, even if you don't necessarily use them. Let me repeat that. It's good to have them on your chart, even if you don't use them. The reason why is because there are numerous traders that do use those averages, and you need to know where the majority of traders are reacting so that you can react accordingly. Because if you, it's basically the way I look at this, as far as your indicators and your movement averages and stuff, it's like tools. You know what I mean? It's just like if you're a carpenter or you're an electrician or any type of serviceman, and it just more tools you have. The more tools you have, the easier and the better your job will be. The better and the easier it will be. Yes, you could do the job without the tools. Some jobs you could do, without many tools. But the more tools you have in your arsenal, the better equipped you'll be, and the more successful and more efficient you'll be. Put it that way, more efficient that you'll be. Um, so anyhow, I was looking at the levels. I see that it was, it shot up past the 100 day. I have the 100 day. I have the that's the 50 day here, moving averages, and I seen it. I saw it come up here, and it showed a little weakness, as you can see. Um, Good selling pressure. The selling, the bars of selling was very near to the bars of buying, which is usually not a good sign. You want to see, if you want to see a stock continuing, you typically want to see high um, buying bars, buying volume, and low selling volume. Because what does that mean? What does that indicate? It means way more people are buying than selling. So the demand is way higher than than the demand is very high. Um, as opposed to the selling pressure. So in those cases, that's when you look to go long. But when you start seeing the selling pressure equal or outweigh the buying, it's, it's pretty common sense, but it's kind of hard in a moment. I know, because as you're trading, it's easy to say all of this stuff hindsight or before you make a trade, but when you're actually in the heat of the moment, trading in the zone as they call it, it's a whole nother ball game. But yeah, some of this stuff is common sense. Um, you know, you see a lot of people buying, you see a lot of buying pressure, then the stock is normally going to go up. If you see a lot of selling pressure, eventually the stock is heading lower. So anyhow, I seen that. I seen the selling pressure stacking up. So I jumped in at, what was it, 364? No, I'm sorry, 378 is where I jumped in. Sorry. So I basically jumped in this candle here after I noticed a lot of selling pressure there. Also on the timing sales in the level two, I noticed the pressure. Also, you got other resistance, not only this resistance, but you got the VWAP. It broke below. Um, so it just, all in all, it was just a lot of it was a lot of convincing on the downside. A lot of things that help convince you that it's going to go lower. Um, so anyhow, I jumped in around 378. As you can see here, I jumped in here at 932, and then I got out near this low here. I noticed that this was a low, so I jumped out right before it because I know a lot of times the stock, not a lot, but sometimes the stock it won't make it to its support levels exactly. So you have to be aware of that. You may have your target set exactly um, at the support. Like say the support here was 6360. Obviously, not, I'm not gonna say obviously, but a lot of times you should have it a little higher than that because this I know I see this happen a lot of times. As far as I've been trading, I see this a lot where a stock will get close to it, but it won't necessarily tap it. And sometimes it will tap it. Sometimes it'll go a little below it, but I would just set my stop a little higher. So that's what I did. I set it up here at 364, and as you see, I got out at 364 for a pretty nice gain there, 14-cent gain. So that was the only trade I made yesterday. I was sitting around for until about 10:30. Didn't see anything else that popped out at me, so I left it at that. All right, so that's pretty much it for the recap, guys. If there's anything that I can take from that, and this is something that I've been having to work on for a long time. I don't know if you guys struggle with this, but one of my biggest caveats, man, one of my biggest problems is once I jump in a trade, I begin to look at the level two. Not, I'm sorry, not the level two. I begin to look at my account, realized, unrealized. I have a bad habit of doing that. I'm not gonna tell you a lie. As opposed to continuing to look at the chart, um, because I mean, this last month and this month alone, if I would have simply stuck to the plan, which is going off of the charting and my strategy, I would have had way more than I had. I left a lot of money on the table because I was getting out of the trade because I'll see that the realized or unrealized is at a good amount that I like, maybe $100 or something, and I'll just get out. And that's something I have to work on. I'm gonna actually implement that today. I'm gonna try very hard, and actually, what I need to do is turn these off, turn the unrealized and the realized off, and just stick with the trade, stick with what I see here on this side. But anyway, there it is. That's the recap for the day. You got a couple things running, a couple gappers here this morning. Well, this is gapping down, but as you can see, even though this is a super high float stock here, it's like over 300 million shares, 350 million shares float, but it's moving pretty good here. So it jumped up from $5 to almost $6 so far. And there's a couple more. But anyway, I'm gonna get off the mic. Got a couple things to do. I may get back on it here in a second. But in the meantime, I will be away from the keyboard for a second. All right, guys. Enjoy your trading day. If I make a trade pre-market here, you will see it live. If there's any true opportunities, otherwise, I'll do a recap tomorrow the same way I did today. 7:45 in the morning. On the way to $1,000 first goal here, and actually I would like to hit that goal by the end of this week. That I have to set parameters and I have to set deadlines. I've set the goal. Now it's time to set deadlines. All right, and that's what you guys should do as well. That kind of keeps your foot on the gas. But at the same time, one thing I also learned with the market is you have to take what the market gives you. So you can have all the goals you want in a certain time, but it depends on the market itself. So, but also keep that in mind though. Have a goal and a deadline, and this can apply in your just everyday life in general. Not even just with trading, just in general. It's a very good habit to have. Make your goals. And a lot of people have goals, but a lot of people don't have deadlines to go with those goals. So there you have it. All right, guys. I will be back. Alright, traders, I'm back here on the mic for just a second. Um, at 8:30, I'll be closing it down. But just a pre-market recap here. There's a couple stocks running this morning. Actually, it seems a little better than yesterday as a whole. A couple gappers. TRVG, it's a higher float, way higher float, like 350 million, but it's moving pretty. You can get some gains out of moves like this. If it goes from let's say here 555 to like 590s, so you can get some meat out of that move, regardless of the float. If it's moving that fluently, you got ESEA. It's a lower price stock. Um, for me, I only trade $3 and above. SureTrader. If you want to have margin, SureTrader allows margin from $3 stocks and above. So anything under $3, you can trade it, but you'll be using your own equity, your own money. You won't be using any margin. So that if you have a small account, such as then that will restrict the amount of shares you can get and obviously the amount of profit. So I try to stick with just $3 and above. But I'll show these just for you guys who made are able to go ahead and trade these. So I show the lower ones as well. Even though I don't trade them, I can't trade them for margin. So anyway, ESEA, that's gapped up pretty nicely from under $2 to like up to almost 240. So that's a good, nice move there. Let's see if it has news. What's driving it? If I recall, it's no news. If I recall correctly, yeah, I don't see any news unless there's some news elsewhere. Um, so anyway, it's more than likely just a technical breakout, or continuation, or no, I wouldn't say continuation. I didn't see this candle down here. Continuation would be if it just made this move and then the next day it went up, but it just looks like a technical breakout. So just be careful with it. Again, it's one of those antenna patterns here. I call them antenna. I need to go ahead and trademark that. But anyway, it makes those antenna moves. Let's see if it's done that before. Before it's pretty. Yeah, there you go. You got a history of those antenna moves, meaning the stock opens or goes spikes up high but closes way below the high, which leaves it with that antenna-like candlestick, or it looks even like an ice pick. You take your pick what you want to call it. But yeah, that's just something to look out for. Especially if it has a history of doing so. So you'll see it spike up like you see now, and then it'll just break down all the way near the lows, or not. It may not go to the lows, but it'll go near the lows if history serves correctly. We had a play yesterday that had the exact similar, had a very similar chart, and it did just what the chart suggested that it would do, which was it shot up. But this all happened in pre-market though. Uh, Let me see. I think it was TRPX. That was yesterday. I think it's active today, but nah, it's not so active. But anyway, yeah, pre-market, as you can see. Now, if you look at the chart, the daily chart, it has a history of what I call antenna candlesticks. Has a history of antennas right there. And if I back out, you'll see it more clearly over here, over here. And what did it do? But this time it happened in pre-market instead of you seeing it on a daily. It did do this, but it did it in pre-market, so it won't reflect so much on a daily. But what did it do? It shot up and it came back down near where it started. It started at like 580, 550, somewhere around the $5 area, and look where it ended up, down here near it. But it got up to 11, almost $12, but got right back. So just be careful. Long story short, what I'm saying is just be careful when you see a stock that has a history of making those antenna moves, and those spike ups and sharp falls back down. Just be aware of that when you make a trade in those stocks. Um, what I've learned and what you'll learn over time is um, you want to look for tendencies um, in charting pattern in a stock symbol. You want to look for tendencies, and you can find that by looking at the chart, the weekly or the daily, or even the monthly, and you'll find tendencies of a stock. Basically, what I mean by that is they all have their own, personality per se. Um, they all have their own habits, things that you can just once you figure out what it does, behaviors, then you can trade it accordingly. As you can see with these stocks that I showed you, TRPX and the ESEA, they have a tendency of going up, spiking up, and coming right back down. So knowing that, you would, if you don't catch the move going up immediately, then you should be looking to short when it does break out, because you know the tendencies of the stock. Now that wouldn't work with all stocks because not all stocks have those tendencies. Some stocks will continue up, and you're looking, you're stuck. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, I'm gonna get ready to close the stream down. It's after 8:30 actually. I didn't see any opportunities to trade in the pre-market, but I definitely will be looking for the after the bell. And if I do make a trade, I'll definitely post it up. Um, the goal for the day is at least $100 profit, and the max loss is $50. You have to set both. You know, that's the best plan of action. Is if you plan both, not just you know. How many of you right now? Let me ask you, when you're going into the market, say I'll just say this morning or any morning for that matter, but this morning with a plan of making money, but without a stop loss for the day. How many of you are doing that? I guarantee you it's a lot because I know it definitely was me. Um, which I'll come into the day, just with an optimistic, positive mindset, which that's what you're supposed to have here. But you have to be realistic, and then also, in the case of an emergency where things don't go your way, you have to have a plan there too, as well. The same way you have a plan or a profit target for the day, you have to have a max loss for the day. And that's something that I used to didn't do. I used to just, hey, yeah, I'm gonna make my goal is $100 or $500, whatever it is for the day to make, but then I haven't set my stop loss for the day. Or even if I did, it was too high. Like I would have $100 stop loss. That's too much. When you have a small account, you really don't want to go over $50 a day, or or you won't have many opportunities. You won't have much leeway per se, because now you're on a very tight leash, and really the only trades you can take is only A plus 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 setups. So you'll be waiting around because you can't afford any losses. But if your losses are small, daily losses are small, then you can afford to have one or two or three of them. But obviously you don't want to have you try to keep that to a minimum. But you can afford to have a couple more than you would with a higher loss max loss. All right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, 7:45 in the morning Eastern time. So that will be 6:45 for you people in Central, and it'll be way earlier than that on the West Coast. That'll be like 4:45. Oh man, I feel for you guys. I understand though that hey, to make that money, you got to get up early. But I'll be here. If you have any questions, you can leave them below in the comment section. I will get back to you, try to get back to you as soon as possible. Or you can email me at mrwalker954 at gmail.com. MRWALKER 954 at gmail.com if you want me to get back to you with any questions or any help. Also, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to keep updated. I will be uploading new content regularly, and you can follow along with the journey of a small account and seeing the ins and outs, the ups and downs of a small account. I'm gonna grow it. I'm gonna show you guys as I'm growing it, and that'll let you know, just like warrior trading and others, it'll let you know that it is possible to start from a small account and grow it if you have the necessary skills and discipline to do so. All right, guys, take care.